She had the world at her feet and a loving family by her side.
Somebody in the family would talk to her every day.
Until one day, she went silent.
Her phone went straight to voicemail.
Something was extremely off.
As detectives search for the truth, they'll uncover a slew of suspects.
She had several men in her life. One of the officers on the case was the very person that she was last known to be with.
But soon, detectives will uncover a dangerous pattern.
She was like a magnet for bad guys.
He had a past history of violence.
As the case unfolds, detectives will come face to face with a man that would stop at nothing to keep her all to himself.
Everything spiraled out of control.
No person does that to another human being.
In my eyes, he's a monster.
Saturday, October 29th, 2016, 1:15 a.m. It's a quiet morning in Berkeley, Missouri, a small suburb just outside of the bustling city of St. Louis.
Berkeley is small. Everybody knows everybody. If you don't know someone, you know someone that knows someone.
Over on the east side of town, 30-year-old Dana Bailey is asleep in her home.
So that evening, I sat on the couch waiting for my sister to come home. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I ended up falling asleep on the couch waiting for her, thinking, okay, she'll be home soon.
Monica?
It wasn't like her sister to stay out all night and not let her know she wouldn't be home.
Monica?
I didn't know what to feel. It just seemed like a nightmare.
Dana runs back to the living room and anxiously calls their mother.
Dana called me and asked me had I seen or talked to Monica.
I haven't seen her all day. I'm scared.
Dana and Monica's parents agree to rush over. Within minutes, Dana is startled by a loud knock. However, it's not who she was expecting.
The police showed up at my door, like someone had called the police.
It must be Dana.
Yeah?
Did Monica come home last night?
No, she did.
The officer introduces himself as Robert Howard, a friend of Monica's.
Red flags are going off in terms of why don't I know or why haven't I heard about this Robert guy before?
The way that he came to my house, it was very strange.
As Dana grows increasingly uneasy, Officer Howard then starts asking about Monica's love life.
Her exes. Did either of them come in contact with her today?
I don't know.
He started asking me about the ex-boyfriend and discussing her boyfriend. But then he says, well, has she said anything about me? It just felt very eerie and awkward.
After several unsettling questions, Dana is relieved to see her parents arrive.
What's going on here? Is Monica back?
How you doing? I'm Robert Howard, sir.
This guy walked up to me and said, hi, Miss Sykes. I'm Robert. I'm Monica's friend.
Monica's very open with her family, tells her family who she's hanging out with, who she's dating. And so Regina is instantly suspicious of this Robert person.
Why would you go to my daughter's house on your own and start talking to her? It's a gut feeling that something's not right.
"25-year-old Monica Sykes had a wonderful and fun-loving spirit.
Monica was very outgoing, and she was very much so a people person.
She was the life of the party, and she was always fun.
Even though she was small, she just seemed larger than life.
Monica always seemed to have a smile on her face and a special place in her heart for her family.
Family is very important to us. It's just the way we are.
We are very close-knit. We do pretty much everything together.
Monica had recently moved in with her sister, Dana.
She decided that she was going to come and help me out with the boys, but I think it was kind of a help for her as well, just because she wasn't by herself.
Living in the same house with her nephew was one of the greatest things ever because she wanted to be around them all the time.
She was the fun TT. Anything they wanted, TT would get.
She definitely took care of those kids like they were her own.
Monica had always had a soft spot for kids. In fact, children were her passion.
She loved kids, so she ended up going to school for early childhood education. And that's what she wanted to do with her life.
Monica not only wanted a career in childcare, but also hoped to become a mother herself. The man she had hoped to marry was 25-year-old Jason Galloway.
They dated for several years. That was pretty much the one serious relationship that she was in.
They loved each other unconditionally. They had a bond.
However, their bond began to fray at the seams.
He was not kind to her. I think that he probably was controlling.
Eventually, the arguments turned volatile.
She told me that he was abusive to her. I told her she needed to leave him alone.
Hey, not doing this, huh?
Finally, the escalating fights forced Monica to move on.
Get your hands off of me!
She finally realized or recognized that she needed to just end it and get out of it because it wasn't healthy.
Newly single, Monica threw herself into work.
She would work multiple jobs. She was trying to get her money together to, live the way she wanted to live.
But before Monica knew it, another man caught her attention. 27-year-old Ray Ellis.
She was serious about him and really saw them being somewhere years down the road. You could tell that she was happier. She started to get her hair done and started to dress up more.
Ray was exactly what Monica needed after her hostile breakup with Jason.
They just clicked, and they had a really undeniable chemistry.
With a new boyfriend, a budding career, and a strong family unit, Monica seemed to be destined for great things. But in the early morning hours of Saturday, October 29th, Monica is missing. And an all-too inquisitive police officer stands in her doorway.
He was asking her a lot of questions about Monica's current boyfriend and her ex-boyfriend.
I thought it was strange. We didn't know anything about this guy.
Soon, family will discover the man in uniform also had a secret.
It was quite a bombshell that Robert revealed to the detectives.
He was actually one of the last people to see her alive.
With a great family and an exciting new career on the horizon, Monica Sykes had the world at her feet.
She was working 2 jobs and was trying to save money for her education.
She wanted to own a daycare, actually take over my grandmother's daycare.
After a devastating breakup with longtime boyfriend Jason Galloway, Monica had found romance again with handsome 27-year-old Ray Ellis.
She always said he was nice. He was fun to hang around. It did seem like she was happy.
He was kind of quiet and laid back, kind of the opposite of the guy that she had previously dated.
But now the 25-year-old is missing, and her family is desperate for answers.
It's been almost an entire day where she's had no contact with anyone in our family.
She was constantly in touch with her sister and her parents. So this was real uncharacteristic of her.
A police officer claiming to be Monica's friend has come forward to help.
He introduced himself as Robert Howard.
But the family finds the officer's sudden arrival suspicious.
The fact that he came to the house and the questions he was asking gave us red flags.
Despite his unsettling behavior, Monica's family decides to take the officer's advice.
He said, well, look, that whole 24 hours to file a missing person report, that's on television. You don't have to wait. Go to the police department right now.
Officer Robert Howard escorts the family to the police station. Detectives speak with Monica's family as Officer Howard waits in the hall.
Do you know if she had issues with anyone?
They asked us the basic questions. Has Monica left before? Is this her behavior? Was there anything going on? And the answer was no to everything.
Monica's sister Dana explains that the morning before she went missing, she had popped in at home for a few minutes before heading out again.
Friday morning, she came home, and my kids, they saw her. I didn't see her. I just heard her saying, "Woo, I'm tired," as she came in. So I assumed she just went and laid down. I was in a rush trying to get the kids ready so that they can get to school and I could get to work.
Dana says that as she was leaving the house, she realized Monica was no longer home.
She came in about 6:48 that morning, and then the security system, when she walked out the door, stated it was 7:01 when she left, so 13 minutes later, she was gone.
I asked the kids, "Did your TT leave?" And that's when my son, he told me, TT said she was going to come back.
She told her nephews that she was going to bring them back some candy.
From that point forward, no one ever heard from her again.
Detectives ask if Monica had anyone she didn't get along with.
Well, she did have some trouble a few months back.
What type of trouble?
It was with her old boyfriend, Jason.
Dana says that Jason Galloway and Monica had been together for years, but it had recently ended.
There were allegations that her ex-boyfriend had been abusive to her.
In hindsight, what I eventually learned about him was that he had a violent history. That he had a violent history.
Dana explained that after her breakup with Jason, Monica moved in with her and the boys and was much happier. But it seemed Jason wasn't ready to let her go.
This prior boyfriend would not leave Monica alone, to the point that he was even stalking Monica.
Once they broke up, she told me that he would start coming to her job, trying to talk to her.
Monica's family explains that he had been jealous that Monica was moving on.
Monica has recently began dating a guy named Ray Ellis.
She really liked him. And even though it was new, there was really a connection.
However, Monica's parents admit they knew little about their daughter's new man.
She brought him to Dana's house, but as far as bringing him around the family, she had never brought him around.
He was very quiet. He didn't talk a whole lot. He would say a few things here and there, but he would just sit around and watch TV with us.
Detectives ask if perhaps the new couple had left on a last-minute weekend getaway.
No. She would never run off and not tell us. Not tell me.
She was also scheduled for work this weekend. She would never blow off her job.
She hadn't checked in. She hadn't come home. She hadn't gone to work. So there was so many things that was out of her character.
With Jason Galloway and Ray Ellis on detectives' radar, Monica's family offers up a third person of interest.
They tell the detectives they have this suspicious feeling towards this officer, Rock.
The way he just showed up and started asking questions about her exes, it was really suspicious.
Detectives had to agree. Officer Howard's connection with this case was strange.
We didn't know what his involvement could have possibly been with her disappearance, and they took us seriously.
Detectives have no choice but to talk to their fellow officer.
They say, Robert, what do you know about this Monica person? What light can you shed on this for us?
He was nervous. He understood the ramifications of how it looked.
This was a red flag for detectives.
According to the FBI, 600,000 missing persons reports were filed in the United States in 2018. Of those, over 200,000 involved African Americans. By the end of the year, only 86,000 of the original 600,000 remained unsolved. Berkeley, Missouri detectives are investigating the disappearance of 25-year-old Monica Sykes.
It's been almost an entire day where she's had no contact with anyone.
Detectives have just learned that Officer Robert Howard had become close to Monica, a fact that has aroused her family's suspicions.
The officer had weirdly showed up at her home in the middle of the night, and he was asking questions about her disappearance.
Before speaking with Officer Howard, detectives look into the shift log and are relieved. It seems their fellow officer was telling the truth.
He goes to work, clocks in, and starts his duties as an officer.
There was no way he could have done it. He was at work from the time he dropped her off to the time he got to her home.
You know, nobody wants to be accused of things that they didn't do. So you can't do anything but try to find understanding within that. Monica's family never knew me, never knew my name. I feel them now. I completely understand.
While Officer Howard is crossed off the suspect list, detectives speak with him to gain more insight about Monica.
I'd say she's a friend. She's a waitress. We met at the restaurant where she works.
Coffee, officer?
Sure. You can call me Robert.
Officer Howard tells detectives he didn't know Monica well, but was drawn to her.
We didn't get a chance to do a whole lot. The time that we did spend together, we would, conversate, we'd be talking. She had a chance to come to my house and see where I lived at.
When was the last time y'all hung out?
Thursday night.
When exactly?
Well, she stayed the night.
Just friends. But she stayed the night?
Yeah, it was late and she was upset after a fight with someone, so I offered to let her stay.
So we went to sleep, woke up in the morning, we got dressed, left the house, dropped her off, went to work, clocked in, and then later on that day, boom, all this happened.
Officer Howard says though he was interested in Monica, the two kept it platonic, since she was mid-breakup with her boyfriend, Ray Ellis.
I definitely knew from the beginning that it was ending. I truly believe she wouldn't have talked to me if they were not. She wasn't that type of person.
Detectives didn't realize Monica and her boyfriend were on the outs.
The relationship was taking a toll on her. I think eventually she got tired. She was done.
The only thing I knew about him is that I knew of him through her. She was tired of his attitude, and she was upset about some issues.
Officer Howard says after his shift, he swung by Monica's place to check on her.
This is not like Monica. Not let somebody know what was going on. I became concerned because that just wasn't her character.
Officer Howard tells detectives he was especially concerned after Monica had a particularly heated conversation with someone on the phone.
She was on the phone a lot of the time arguing with somebody.
He could tell it was a man by the nature of the call and what they were arguing about.
Detectives wonder who Monica was talking to, her ex-boyfriend, Jason Galloway, or her new man, Ray Ellis. Officer Howard says he's not sure, but after the call, he tried to talk to Monica about it.
I even said, hey, why don't you just, kind of like tell your sister or, tell your parents or something what's going on. Maybe somebody can step up and try to do something different. But she was like, she can handle it.
Officer Howard tells detectives that he really liked Monica, that he wanted to help her, but he had to respect her wishes.
When the person don't want your help, you have to respect them. You have to do what they ask you to do, So if they tell you don't do this, you don't do it. I kind of wish I would have just been hard-headed and did what I wanted to do.
She seemed to be a magnet for bad men, and he was trying to get her away from all that and show her what life is like with a good man.
As the sun comes up, detectives start looking into the other two men in Monica's life.
The ex-boyfriend stuck out in our minds because there were points where he was abusive toward Monica.
Is it possible Monica had a confrontation with Jason that led to her disappearance?
She would speak up for herself, so it was maybe one of those things where she thought she could take care of it herself.
Or had there been trouble brewing between Monica and her new man?
She had never brought him around our family.
Either way, the pressure is on, and with each passing minute, the chances of finding Monica alive diminish. Detectives' best bet now is to interview both men and generate a lead before it's too late.
If he had hurt her before, he could have done it again. Maybe he took it too far this time.
Sometimes you think you know someone and they turn out to be completely different than you thought.
They just knew they needed to find her, and fast.
October 29th, 2016. Detectives are investigating the disappearance of 25-year-old Monica Sykes. She was last seen 24 hours earlier when her friend Robert Howard witnessed a heated phone conversation.
She was on a phone. She mad at this dude. They got into a real big argument.
But who had Monica been arguing with? And where is she now? Detectives have two solid leads: ex-boyfriend Jason Galloway and new man Ray Ellis. First up for questioning is Jason.
She had to end it with him because he was not kind to her. He was even abusive.
Detectives sit down with Jason and confront him with the allegations of abuse.
He said that he would never hurt Monica and that he would always love her.
Jason admits that he had never treated Monica right, but they loved each other, and that's why he hadn't wanted to let her go.
There were times that they were madly in love, though, as well. It depended on the day.
As the questioning continues, Jason breaks down.
Hey, if you know where she is, you need to tell us.
I'm telling you, I don't know anything about it, okay?
Where were you Friday morning?
I was at my place getting ready for work.
It's a flimsy alibi, to say the least, but Jason holds steadfast.
He is really disturbed and upset, and he appears to really genuine be and he appears to really genuine be concerned about Monica being missing.
He was adamant. He had nothing to do with anything.
If Jason is telling the truth, then detectives suspect Monica's heated phone call was most likely with her current boyfriend, Ray Ellis. But according to Monica's friend, Monica's relationship with Ray was on the out.
She referred to it as a bad relationship. She said, I'm fed up with this relationship. I'm finna let it go.
There's only one way to find out for sure who Monica was speaking to on the night of the 27th.
They subpoenaed Monica's phone records and were able to get them expedited.
The records were able to confirm to detectives that Monica was talking to Ray during those alleged arguments that Robert described.
Police quickly locate Ray Ellis, and he agrees to talk with detectives.
Ray Ellis tells the police that he has no idea where Monica is.
I haven't seen her in a few days. I'm just concerned as you guys are. Her sister called, said she was missing, but I haven't seen her.
Ray says, look, I don't know anything about Monica's missing situation. I have not spoken to Monica in a few days, and I'm concerned as well as everyone else regarding Monica's whereabouts.
That's when detectives pull their ace in the hole, Monica's cell phone records. It seems she had spoken to Ray numerous times on the night of the 27th.
He couldn't really argue with phone records.
Once confronted, Ray clams up and asks for a lawyer.
When a person asks for an attorney, it just simply puts the investigator back out there to continue their investigation.
With nothing to hold him on, detectives have no choice but to set Ray free.
Detectives followed up with Ray's brother, Jermaine Benjamin, who confirmed to them that Ray was with him the morning Monica disappeared.
48 hours after Monica went missing, detectives feel the pressure is mounting.
Detectives had their suspicions about Ray and Jason, but nothing that could definitively tell them if they were involved in her disappearance.
However, it's not long before detectives receive a call that could break the case wide open.
Hey, you gotta go.
It seems Monica's nephew remembers something about the morning he last saw her.
Monica's nephew looks out the window and notices Monica gets into a car with another person.
Detectives knew Monica had only been home for a few minutes before leaving. The question is, who was she leaving with?
If her nephew could identify who Monica had left with, detectives might be able to find the person who was responsible for her disappearance.
Can you tell us what happened the last time you saw your aunt?
He was a very articulate young man for his age. Then this child was very aware of what happened.
He ran to the window and he saw her get into the car.
This revelation opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
They needed to know exactly who was driving that vehicle.
The nephew didn't get a good look at the driver, but he could see it was a white four-door vehicle, and he was able to describe it perfectly down to the bumper sticker on the back.
Detectives immediately put out a bolo for the white sedan. They also called the station to check the vehicles registered to Jason Galloway and Ray Ellis.
There wasn't a white sedan registered to either of the men.
Detectives also look around the home for any additional clues as to where Monica may have been going or who she could be with.
The lead detective, she searched my house. She searched Monica's room.
The police did not see anything out of the ordinary.
It didn't necessarily seem that it was foul play, but there was a sense of urgency on our part.
Soon, investigators will finally catch a break. It seems the white sedan has been found.
That car was found on fire. It's fully engulfed, which means someone had to set it on fire.
But the search for answers is just beginning.
There's really only one reason why someone would set a car on fire, and that is to destroy evidence of a crime.
November 1st, 2016. 25-year-old Monica Sykes has been missing for 4 days. Though detectives suspect Monica's ex, Jason Galloway, or her new man, Ray Ellis, could have something to do with her disappearance, there's no concrete evidence of foul play.
She came home for just a few minutes on Friday morning. She spoke with her nephew, and then she left.
The nephew saw her get in the car through the front window.
Luckily, Monica's 6-year-old nephew was able to describe the white sedan to a T.
They were able to put a bolo out on the vehicle based on what the young man saw.
Finally, the bolo produces a promising lead.
We received a call from St. Louis County indicate that car was found on fire.
Detectives arrive on the scene after firefighters have extinguished the blaze. It's clear that whoever set the fire did so to cover their tracks.
It pretty much destroyed the vehicle and destroyed everything in there.
However, detectives are able to recover one clue.
The vehicle's VIN number was still intact.
Please run the VIN number of this vehicle, and they discover that it was registered to Ray Ellis's brother.
It's difficult to believe in the minds of the investigator that this is a coincidence.
Despite the questionable alibi of Monica's ex-boyfriend, Jason Galloway, police focused their efforts on Monica's new man, Ray Ellis.
They believed he was the person she had gotten into a fight with over the phone the night before her disappearance.
With the phone records and the torched vehicle, detectives are certain Ray is their man.
They felt like he was the guy. They just had to prove it.
Detectives continue to search the area near the car for additional clues.
Next to the burning car, police find a partially burnt latex glove.
The glove was sent off for DNA analysis.
While detectives wait for the results, they bring Ray Ellis back in for questioning.
He's not Mr. Cool under pressure. He was acting somewhat nervous.
So where is she, Ray?
I already told you, I don't know anything.
Why'd you burn the car?
Burn the car? Man, what are you talking about?
They confront Ray with this evidence, and Ray says, hey, on the day of Monica's disappearance, my brother was driving the car, not me.
Why else would your brother be burning your car up? He's in cahoots with you.
But it's clear Ray has no intention of confessing to anything.
It's like I already told you, Detective. I didn't do nothing. I don't know nothing. And I want my lawyer.
Detectives hold Ray and hope the DNA results from the glove will finally prove his guilt. Within a few hours, the results come back. But unfortunately, they only muddy the waters.
They thought it was going to come back as a match for Ray. However, it comes back as a match for Ray's brother.
We didn't suspect that brother killed Monica or had something to do with her being killed.
Detectives suspect Ray's brother Jermaine helped torch the car at his brother's request. However, after speaking with Jermaine, they learn he is just as tight-lipped as his brother.
When Jermaine arrives at the station, he lawyers up and refuses to answer questions.
With the Ellis brothers not talking, detectives will need more than a burning car to charge either of them in connection to the disappearance of Monica Sykes.
We truly believe that Monica's not alive at this point. Now it's a search and rescue efforts and trying to find her remains.
Months pass with no new developments.
You have to find a way to get justice for her. The first fight was finding her and what happened to her.
Unwilling to give up on finding their loved one, Monica's family looks into recovery efforts.
I found out about Texas EquiSearch through a local reporter here.
It's a group that'll go out and do searches.
On February 4th, 2017, 3 months after Monica's disappearance, the Berkeley Police Department, along with the Texas EquiSearch organization, find the remains of an African-American female.
The body was found discarded in an overgrown area in the community of Kinloch, which was about 2 miles outside of Berkeley.
When the remains are found, it was just skeletal, and I still wanted to try and have some hope. So I didn't want to believe it was her.
Sadly,
So I didn't want to believe it was her.
Sadly, the DNA results proved devastating for the family of Monica Sykes.
The DNA results confirmed that the remains belonged to Monica.
It was just something that was in the back of my head already. And, now I can't deny it anymore. It's real and it's true. At that time, I had to call Regina and tell her the news.
I just want to ball up and die myself. That I can't believe this has happened.
It was hard. It was heartbreaking, but it was a little bit of relief as well.
Not only is Monica confirmed deceased, her case is now reclassified as a homicide.
They were able to determine the cause of death being a gunshot wound.
Now more than ever, police seek justice for the family.
They fully believed it was Ray Ellis who had murdered her and that he enlisted his brother to help torch the car. They just didn't have proof.
But suddenly, someone comes forward that can confirm once and for all what happened to Monica.
He indicated that he had some information for us.
This tip literally cracks the case wide open.
California Department of Justice had to take my DNA and then her siblings' DNA to do the testing, and it was confirmed that it was the remains of Monica. That was just, this moment in time is just frozen forever for all of us. And we try and figure out, how do you get past that moment? And it's the most difficult thing that anybody that loves someone would ever have to go through.
February 4th, 2017. Berkeley police, along with aid from the Texas Equisearch Organization, have just recovered the remains of missing 25-year-old Monica Sykes.
It's not possible for me to describe it. It's just a wound that never ever heals.
It was just so crushing.
Detectives believe Monica's killer to be her estranged boyfriend, Ray Ellis.
There was an abundance of evidence that really led us to believe that Ray Ellis committed the crime.
She was seen leaving in Ray's brother's car, and then that car ends up torched. And near the car, police find a glove with Ray's brother's DNA inside of it. It was all just too coincidental.
However, all evidence on Ray Ellis and his brother is circumstantial at best. They need something to solidify their case against them. And it's not long until they finally get what they're looking for.
A friend of Ray's came forward and said that he had information on Monica's murder.
Detectives speak with 26-year-old Daniel Stone.
He's a longtime friend of Ray.
Daniel says Ray had told them everything one night.
The other night we were hanging out. I knew something was wrong because he was acting really weird. I was like, hey, what's up? And he just said, I killed her. I killed Monica.
Ray Ellis indicated that he had killed Monica Sykes and dumped her body.
What did he say why he did it?
He said it started that night. She spent the night with that cop.
Ray sat outside her residence and watched her being dropped off by another man.
He kept it cool and asked her to go talk for a bit when he saw her outside.
Monica, baby.
Daniel says Ray told him Monica then went inside for a few minutes to change and came back outside, and the two drove off.
I'm sure Monica never thought that Ray would reach the point where he would harm her.
According to Daniel, Ray said the two stopped off around Kinlock. And that's when he flew into a jealous rage.
Who was you with last night?
A friend, but I told you we're through. I don't want to do this anymore, Ray.
Tell me what happened.
I just want to move on, Ray.
It gets hostile. It gets argumentative. Ray snaps.
Tell me what happened. Nothing happened, Ray, but we're not together anymore.
Oh, yeah, whatever. We're not together anymore, Ray. You know what?
No. Ray, put the gun away. You need to put the gun down, Ray. Put the gun down.
Ray got so mad he just shot her.
Daniel says Ray then pushed Monica out of the car and drove off. He waited until he could enlist his brother to help him burn the car.
He burned the car because the blood evidence is in the vehicle.
Daniel even tells detectives that Ray had mentioned using latex gloves to avoid fingerprints, a detail that convinced detectives Daniel is telling the truth.
He has information that was not made public.
Based upon Daniel's statement, the officers believe they have enough to charge Ray with the death of Monica.
On April 3rd, 2017, 5 months after Monica disappeared, Ray Ellis is formally charged with her murder. Detectives also arrest Ray's brother, Jermaine Benjamin.
Ray Ellis' brother was charged with tampering with physical evidence.
He pled guilty and received a 4-year sentence, but prosecutors were unable to secure his testimony against Ray.
On September 10th, 2018, the trial for Ray Ellis gets underway.
He was acting quite smug, like he knew he was going to get off.
Having to sit in a courtroom with him, not even looking like he was remorseful for anything, it was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my life.
The worst thing in our lives had already happened. So I refused to let him be able to sit in a courtroom and not have to look at the faces of the people whose hearts that he has broken.
The prosecution contends that Ray couldn't handle the thought of Monica with another man, so he killed her in cold blood.
He shot her in that car in broad daylight.
The evidence, coupled with Daniel Stone's testimony, seals Ray's fate.
They found Ray guilty of murder.
When he said guilty, we were glad knowing that the fight was won and that we got justice for her.
It was relief, even though it doesn't bring her back.
The judge sentences Ray to life in prison.
Ray Ellis is where he needs to be.
However, Monica's friends and family still endure the pain of her absence.
It's just as really sorry when someone is behind bars and your loved one is no longer here.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around how to live life without her.
We have this huge Monica-sized hole in our lives that will never be filled. We miss her every single day.
He was a bachelor with a killer smile.
He was good looking.
The ladies couldn't resist him.
Until one lucky lady took him off the market.
They were happy together. They became very serious about their relationship.
But a horrible crime cut their romance short.
The victim had been shot in the head.
He was only 31 years old, just beginning life.
To find his killer, detectives will have to sift through multiple motives.
Who would want to do something like this? Did he have a beef with anyone?
I'm not saying he was perfect.
There were allegations of abuse.
There was a criminal record.
As detectives dive into the case, they will discover one person willing to do the unthinkable.
I thought the person who wanted him shot. They were hoping the alligators would eat him.
I didn't know nobody could be that cold-blooded and that evil.
Shadows of the Self, The Chronicles of American Deception. Prologue, The Fragility of a Name. Identity is a ghost. We spend our lives building it brick by brick, document by document, convinced that the plastic cards in our wallets and the digital footprints we leave behind are solid ground. We believe our names belong to us. We are wrong. In the early 2000s, across the rugged landscapes of Colorado and the quiet, manicured lawns of suburban Illinois, two different kinds of predators were proving just how easily that ghost could be kidnapped. One was a frantic, neon-lit underworld of addiction and forgery. The other was a cold, calculated phantom with striking blue eyes. This is the story of the lives they shattered and the hunters who refused to stop. Chapter 1, The Saturday Shock. The Colorado sun was a deceptive thing. It shone brightly over the asphalt of the Denver suburbs, promising a peaceful Saturday afternoon. Virginia Dissett gripped the steering wheel of her car, her mind drifting to her upcoming chiropractic appointment. It was a mundane chore, the kind of weekend errand that defined a stable, suburban life. The blue lights in her rearview mirror were a sudden, jarring intrusion. Virginia sighed, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face. She looked at her speedometer. Speeding. Fine. Just a ticket, she thought. She pulled over to the shoulder, the gravel crunching beneath her tires. She reached for her registration, preparing her polite citizen smile for the officer. But when the officer approached, his hand didn't rest loosely on his belt. His face was a mask of professional grimness. Virginia Dissett, he asked, his voice flat. Yes, officer. I'm sorry. I was just headed to. Ma'am, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Keep your hands where I can see them. The smile died on her lips. A cold needle of dread pricked at the base of her spine. Is there a problem? There is a warrant out for your arrest, Virginia. Felony forgery. Virginia let out a short, hysterical laugh. No, you're joking. You have the wrong person. I don't think so. Ma'am, turn around and put your hands behind your back. The metallic click of the handcuffs was the loudest sound she had ever heard. It was the sound of her world snapping shut. As she was led to the back of the cruiser, the neighbors watched, their eyes filled with the silent, judgmental curiosity that turns a victim into a criminal in the court of public opinion. At the county jail, the reality set in with the smell of floor wax and stale sweat. They stripped her of her dignity along with her personal belongings. The orange jumpsuit felt like a shroud. I haven't done anything, she whispered to the concrete walls of her cell. 2 months prior, a thief had broken into her car and snatched her wallet. To Virginia, it had been a nightmare of canceled credit cards and a lost driver's license. To the thieves, it had been a master key. They hadn't just stolen her money, they had stolen her face. As she watched other women, some shaking from withdrawal, others hardened by years of the system being hauled off in shackles, Virginia realized the system didn't care about the truth. It cared about the paperwork, and the paperwork said Virginia Dissett was a felon. Chapter 2, The Architect and the Addict. While Virginia sat in a cell, the man responsible for her misery was miles away, fueled by a chemical fire that never went out. Michael Schreckingist lived in a house that was less a home and more a fortress of paranoia. Cameras were hidden in the trees, mounted on the roof, and angled at the backyard. Inside, the air was thick with the acidic tang of methamphetamine and the ozone smell of high-end laser printers. Schreckingist was the top dog. In the hierarchy of the Denver underworld, he wasn't a common street thug. He was a technician, a logistics manager for a loose-knit army of 40 addicts. Beside him sat Tammy Carroll. In another life, Tammy might have been a graphic designer or a suburban mother. Now, her skin was pale, her eyes darting with the frantic energy of a 3-day binge. "Look at this one," Tammy muttered, holding up a check. It looked perfect. The watermark, the routing numbers, the weight of the paper, it was a masterpiece of deception. "Whose name?" Schreckingist asked, not looking up from his computer screen. "Dissett. Virginia Dissett. We got the ID, the social, the banking statement. It's a gold mine." Schreckingist nodded. "Print 5. Make sure the tellers won't blink. And tell Roberta to put on the wig. We need her to look exactly like the photo." This was the meth identity theft nexus. It was a symbiotic relationship. The drug provided the hyperfocus and the stamina to spend 20 hours a day digging through trash bins, intercepting mail, and manipulating software to create counterfeit documents. The identity theft provided the cash thousands of dollars a week to buy more meth. Tammy remembered her first time. The rush of walking into a bank with a dead woman's name and walking out with $1,000 in crisp bills. It was a high better than the needle. I had gotten addicted to the game, she would later tell herself, using somebody else's name, being somebody else for 10 minutes. It made me feel powerful, but the power was an illusion. Underneath the counterfeit checks and the wigs was a rotting core. Tammy's children were in foster care. Her house was a wreck. Her soul was being traded, one forged signature at a time. Chapter 3, The Red Flag. The operation was simple, yet devastatingly effective. They called it the mail run. At 3 in the morning, while the rest of Denver slept, Schreckingist's foot soldiers drifted through the residential neighborhoods like ghosts. They looked for the red flags, the tiny metal levers on mailboxes that signaled a bill was ready to be picked up. To a normal person, a bill was a nuisance. To Tammy, it was a blueprint. Inside those envelopes were account numbers, signatures, and credit limits. One morning, they hit the jackpot. A convenience check from a credit card company sent to a woman with a $25,000 limit. Schreckingist's eyes gleamed when he saw it. "We're going big," he said. "I want that Harley Davidson." Using a stolen identity, he walked into a dealership. He was commanding. He was charming. He wore a suit that masked the sores on his arms. He presented the counterfeit check for $17,000. The salesman, blinded by the commission, barely glanced at the ID. Schreckingist rode out of the lot on a brand new motorcycle, the wind in his face, feeling invincible. He was a man with 40 names and no soul. Chapter 4, The Hunter. Detective Jim Rock didn't like ghosts. He liked facts. He liked paper trails. And he liked seeing the look on a criminal's face when the trail ended at their front door. Rock had been tracking the cassette checks for months. He had seen the surveillance footage women in wigs, oversized sunglasses, acting the part of the suburban housewife. He knew it was a ring. He knew it was meth. They're getting sloppy, Jim, his partner said, tossing a folder onto his desk. A teller in Denver caught one. A guy named Michael Schreckingist tried to use an ID for a Benjamin Bryce Taiwan Kim. The ID was so bad it looked like it was printed on a cereal box. Rock leaned back in his chair. Schreckingist, he's the one with the cameras in the trees, right? That's him. Rock decided to play a different game. He didn't just want an arrest. He wanted to break them. He began driving by Schreckingist's house every day. He would stop, get out of his car, and stare directly into the hidden cameras. He would bang on the door, knowing they were inside, watching him on the monitors, their hearts racing with chemical-induced paranoia. "I'm here, Michael," Rock's silence screamed. "And I'm not going away." The pressure began to crack the ring. Tammy Carroll was the first to fall. She was caught purchasing stolen IDs from a police informant. When Rock sat across from her in the interrogation room, he didn't see a criminal mastermind. He saw a broken woman. "Where are your kids, Tammy?" Rock asked softly. That was the breaking point. The tears came, hot and fast, washing away the mask of the forger. She told him everything. She told him about the mail, the printers, the Harley, and the man who thought he could outrun the law on a stolen bike. Chapter 5, The Phantom of Wheaton. While the Denver ring was loud, messy, and fueled by drugs, a different kind of terror was gripping the suburbs of Chicago. Wheaton, Illinois, was a place of safety. It was the kind of town where people left their back doors unlocked. But since 2002, a shadow had been moving through the morning mist. They called him the Wheaton Bandit. He was a ghost with striking blue eyes. He didn't need meth. He didn't need an army. He needed a tactical hood, a police scanner, and a handgun. August 28, 2003, 6:30 a.m. Jennifer, a teller supervisor, arrived at the Wheaton Bank. The air was crisp. She heard a sound the snap of a twig in the bushes near the drive-up ATM. Her instincts, honed by years of suburban caution, flared. "Hurry!" she hissed to the teller behind her. They scrambled inside. Jennifer slammed the heavy glass door and turned the lock just as a figure emerged from the bushes. He was tall, dressed in dark tactical gear, a balaclava obscuring his face. Only his eyes were visible, cold, piercing blue. He grabbed the door handle and yanked. It held. He stared through the glass at Jennifer. He didn't scream. He didn't panic. He simply let go of the handle, turned, and vanished into the woods. He was a professional. He knew when a hit was burned. FBI agents Tina Forkas and Eric Cayley stood in the spot where the bandit had waited. He hides here, Cayley noted, pointing to the line of sight toward the bank entrance. He watches them. He knows their patterns. He parks in the cul-de-sac behind the trees. Quick entry, quick exit. And look at this, Forka said, looking at the surveillance stills from a previous hit. Look at his hand. He's indexing the weapon. The bandit held his pistol with his trigger finger straight along the slide, not on the trigger. It was a sign of elite training. Military, SWAT, law enforcement. He's one of us, Cayley whispered, where he used to be. The realization sent a chill through the task force. They weren't just hunting a robber. They were hunting someone who knew their tactics, who knew their scanners, and who might be wearing body armor under his coat. The Wheaton bandit had hit 16 times. He had taken over $150,000. He was a man who didn't steal for a fix. He stole for the rush, for the power of standing in a room and commanding every soul within it to drop to the floor. Chapter 6, The Cost of Innocence. Back in Colorado, the charges against Virginia Dissette were finally dropped. Detective Rock had proven she was a victim, not a forger, but the victory felt hollow. It's not over, Virginia told her husband. My arrest record is still there. My credit is ruined. When I apply for a job, they don't see innocent victim. They see lack of evidence. She had spent hundreds of hours on the phone with banks, title companies, and credit bureaus. Her life had become a second job, the job of proving she existed. Meanwhile, Tammy Carroll stood before a judge. You are a drug addict, the judge said, his voice echoing in the courtroom. And I don't ever want to see your kids in your care again. It was a sentence worse than death. Tammy looked at her hands. They were clean of ink for the first time in years. The fog of the meth was lifting, leaving behind a cold, desolate landscape of her own making. I have to change, she whispered. Across the country, the Wheaton bandit was preparing for his next hit. He was checking his scanner. He was polishing his blue eyes in the mirror. He was the shadow that wouldn't go away. The war on identity theft and the hunt for the bandit were two sides of the same coin. The struggle to protect what is ours in a world where everything can be stolen. End of Volume 1. The Altar of Greed. A novel based on true events. Table of Contents. Prologue, The Mirage in the Desert. Chapter 1, The Visionary of Phoenix. Chapter 2, The Language of Stewardship. Chapter 3, The Auditor's Shadow. Chapter 4, The Whistleblower's Burden. Chapter 5, The House of Cards Collapses. Chapter 6, The Doctor of Lincolnwood. Chapter 7, Ghost Surgeries. Chapter 8, The Caretaker's Choice. Chapter 9, Silence in the Church Basement. Chapter 10, The Trail of Shell Casings. Epilogue, The High Cost of Faith. Prologue, The Mirage in the Desert. The Arizona sun is a relentless interrogator. It beats down on the pavement of Phoenix, bleaching the colors from the world until everything looks like a faded photograph. For the thousands who gathered in the cool, air-conditioned sanctuaries of the Southern Baptist churches in the early 1980s, the heat was a physical manifestation of the trials of the world. Inside, however, there was hope. There was music. There was the promise of a kingdom built not just in the next life, but fortified in this one. They thought they were giving to God. They were told that their retirement savings, the nickels and dimes saved over 40 years of factory work, the college funds for grandchildren, could be seeds planted in holy ground. But in the desert, what looks like a shimmering pool of water is often just a trick of the light, a mirage. Bill Anderson and his wife, Pat, sat in the third row. They felt the inner feeling of love and faith that the preacher spoke of. After Pat's brain aneurysm, the church hadn't just been a place of worship, it was their lifeline. When the men in suits came men who quoted scripture as easily as they cited interest rates, the Andersons didn't see salesmen. They saw stewards. They didn't know that the oasis was drying up. They didn't know that the magnificent money machine for God was fueled by lies. Half a continent away, in the gray, humid sprawl of Chicago, another man of trust was preparing his own deception. Dr. Ronald Michaels, a man with a sterling bedside manner, was leaning over an elderly patient's foot. He smiled, offered a kind word, and perhaps a sandwich. He was a healer. He was a friend. And he was a predator. This is the story of two different kinds of hunger. One was a hunger for legacy and prestige, hidden behind the cross. The other was a hunger for cold, hard cash, hidden behind a surgical mask. Both would end in ruin. Both would prove that the most dangerous lies are the ones told by the people we are taught to trust the most. Chapter 1, The Visionary of Phoenix. The year was 1982. William Kratz stood at the window of the Baptist Foundation of Arizona BFA and looked out at the rising skyline of Phoenix. At 34, Kratz was a man of quiet intensity. He wasn't a fire and brimstone preacher, but he possessed a different kind of charisma, the charisma of competence. He was an attorney, a lifelong Southern Baptist, and a man who believed that the Lord's work required a CEO's precision. We aren't just a charity, Tom, Kratz said, his voice low, directed at Thomas Grabinski, the Foundation's in-house counsel. We are the engine. Think of the low-income housing we can build, the food banks, the senior centers. But to do that, we need capital. We need growth. Kratz's vision was grand. He wanted to turn the nonprofit BFA into a financial titan. The plan was deceptively simple. Church members would loan their money to the foundation. In exchange, the BFA would offer interest rates that made the local banks look like misers. While a standard CD might net 6%, Kratz promised 10%. How do we sustain those returns? Grabinski asked, adjusting his glasses. Real estate, Kratz replied, pointing toward the dessert. Phoenix is rising. We buy raw land. We develop commercial property. The profits pay the investors, and the surplus goes to the missions. It's wise stewardship. In those early days, the zeal was real. Kratz was revered. In the tight-knit world of the Southern Baptist Convention, he was a celebrity. When he walked into a church, the atmosphere shifted. It was as if the Pope had arrived in a business suit. He spoke of stewardship, a word that carried the weight of a commandment. To the faithful, investing in the BFA wasn't just a financial decision, it was an act of worship. Robert Shaw, a car salesman who had found God during a battle with alcoholism, was one of the first to buy in. It made my life easier. Robert told his wife, we're building our retirement, and we're building the kingdom. It's a win-win, but real estate is a fickle god, and the dessert has a way of swallowing dreams. Chapter 2, The Language of Stewardship. The sales pitches were held in church basements, over potluck dinners, and styrofoam cups of lukewarm coffee. The salesmen were polished, their Bibles well worn, their smiles practiced. Brother Anderson, a salesman, said, sitting in Bill and Pat's living room, you've worked hard at the plant. You've earned your rest. But wouldn't it be better if your money worked for the Lord while you slept? We call it stewardship in action. You get 10%. The church gets the profit. It's what the parable of the talents teaches us. Bill Anderson looked at Pat. They had $200,000, their entire life savings. It's secure. Bill asked, the BFA has never lost a penny, the salesman said firmly, and we are audited every year by Arthur Anderson, one of the top firms in the world. You have the full faith of the Southern Baptist Convention behind you. It was the perfect trap. It appealed to their greed. Yes, but more importantly, it appealed to their goodness. They weren't just being selfish. They were being good stewards. By the mid-90s, the BFA had ballooned. They had $340 million in assets on paper. Bill Kratz sat in a posh office, the Wizard of Phoenix. But beneath the mahogany desks and the clean audit reports, the foundation was rotting. The Arizona real estate bubble hadn't just burst, it had evaporated. The raw land the BFA had purchased was worth a fraction of what they had paid. Instead of admitting the loss, Kratz chose a different path. He chose the path of the bad bank. He created a company called Allo. On paper, it was an independent entity. In reality, it was a dumpster for debt. When a BFA property lost value, they would sell it to Allo at an inflated price. Allo didn't have any money, so it gave the BFA an IOU note receivable. On the BFA's balance sheet, that IOU looked like an asset. To the auditors at Arthur Anderson, it looked like a legitimate transaction. but it was a circular flow of nothingness, a ghost feeding a phantom. Chapter 3, The Auditor's Shadow. In the world of high finance, a clean bill of health from an auditor is the ultimate shield. For the BFA, that shield was Arthur Anderson. Every year, the auditors came. They looked at the books. They saw the massive IOS from Allo. They saw the plummeting real estate values. And every year, they signed off. To the investors, this was the ultimate proof of security. If Arthur Anderson says it's okay, who are we to argue? Pat Anderson would say. But inside the BFA, a young attorney named Kyle Tresh was starting to smell the smoke. Tresh was a preacher's son from Tulsa. He had moved to Arizona specifically to work for the foundation. He believed in the mission. He wanted his work to mean something. But as he began to look at the sham sales to Allo, his heart sank. This isn't real, Tresh whispered to himself late one night in the records room. We're manufacturing profit. He saw that the foundation wasn't making money from land. It was making money from new investors. They were using the money from people like the Andersons to pay the interest to people like Robert Shaw. It was a classic Ponzi scheme, wrapped in a hymn book. Tresh tried to speak up. He confronted Kratz and Grabinski in a tense meeting in April 1996. Bill, these properties in Allo, they aren't worth anything, Tresh said, his voice trembling. We're lying to the public. We're lying to the church. Kratz didn't flinch. He looked at Tresh with the disappointed eyes of a father. It's a long-term strategy. Kyle, these properties need time to mature. You're looking at a snapshot. I'm looking at a mural. Have a little faith. Faith shouldn't require a fake balance sheet, Tresh replied. Weeks later, Tresh resigned. In his letter, he used the word fraud. It was a word that should have stopped the world. Instead, the BFA leadership dismissed it as the ramblings of a disgruntled employee. They told the investors that they were under attack from Satan, our spiritual enemy, and the faithful believed them because they wanted to, because the alternative was too terrifying to contemplate. Chapter 4, The Whistleblower's Burden. The silence that followed Kyle Tresh's resignation was deafening. He had expected the authorities to move quickly, but the wheels of justice grind slowly, especially when they are clogged with the grease of a prestigious organization. While Tresh waited, a reporter named Terry Green Sterling began to dig. She wasn't a Baptist. She didn't care about stewardship. She cared about the math. For 6 months, Sterling lived in the public records offices. She traced the money trail from the BFA to Allo and back again. She spoke to confidential sources who were terrified of Kratz's influence. In early 1998, she published a series in the Phoenix New Times. The headline was a lightning bolt, Cooking the Books for Jesus. The reaction was immediate and polarized. The BFA went on the offensive. Bill Kratz wrote letters to every investor, claiming the articles were a spiritual attack. Bill Anderson took the newspaper into his pastor's office. Pastor, look at this. They say the money is gone. The pastor patted Bill's hand. Bill, I know Brother Kratz personally. He's a man of God. Don't let the secular world shake your faith. The foundation is solid. Bill Anderson went home and told Pat to keep their $200,000 in. It was the biggest mistake of his life. By August 1999, the state could no longer ignore the evidence. The Attorney General's office, armed with Tresh's testimony and Sterling's reporting, forced the BFA to stop selling investments. 3 months later, the doors were locked. The Baptist Foundation of Arizona filed for bankruptcy. It was the largest nonprofit bankruptcy in U.S. history. $600 million was gone. The fallout was a slow-motion car crash. Bill and Pat Anderson, now in their 70s, watched as their $200,000 vanished into the desert air. Bill, a former plant manager, had to become a handyman, carving Uncle Sam ornaments in his garage just to buy groceries. The stress was too much. He suffered to heart attacks in 2 weeks. Robert Shaw, the man who had cleaned up his life for the church, had to tell his daughter that her $60,000 college fund was gone. He spent his retirement years washing rental cars for minimum wage. I didn't envision my retirement as that at all, Shaw said, his voice cracking. They took away our faith, not just in the money, but in the church itself. Chapter 5. The House of Cards collapses. The trial of William Kratz and Thomas Grabinski began in September 2005. It was the longest criminal trial in Arizona history. Over 1 million pages of documents were presented. The defense's argument was audacious. If you hadn't shut us down, we would have made it. They claimed that if the state had just waited a few more years, the real estate market would have boomed, and everyone would have been paid back. It's not a crime if you eventually intended to pay it back, the defense lawyers argued. But the prosecution had a different take. A lie is a lie the moment it's told, the assistant attorney general countered. You cannot build a kingdom on the broken backs of the elderly. The jury agreed. Kratz and Grabinski were found guilty of fraud. Kratz was sentenced to 8 years, Grabinski to 6. But for the victims, the justice felt hollow. They had recouped about 70% of their money through a settlement with Arthur Anderson, the accounting firm, that had finally been held accountable for its blind eye, but they would never get back the years of worry. They would never get back the heart attacks. They would never get back the inner feeling of love and faith that had once made their lives easy. As the BFA saga ended in the desert, another monster was being unmasked in the Windy City. Chapter 6. The Doctor of Lincolnwood. Chicago is a city of neighborhoods, and Lincolnwood is one where the lawns are manicured and the houses speak of quiet success. This was the domain of Dr. Ronald Michos. Michos was a podiatrist. He wasn't a heart surgeon or a neurosurgeon, but in the world of the elderly, he was just as important. He kept them mobile. He kept them walking. He was a big man with a booming laugh and a sterling bedside manner. He made house calls a rarity in the modern age. He would sit in the kitchens of his elderly patients, drink tea, eat the sandwiches they made for him, and listen to their stories about the war or their grandchildren. He was like a son to them, an investigator would later say. But Dr. Michaels had a secret. He was a man drowning in his own appetites. He had a prescription drug problem. He had an alcohol problem. He had multiple girlfriends and children with all of them. He needed money, lots of it, and he found it in the deep, seemingly bottomless pockets of Medicare. In 1998, a red flag appeared on the computer of Pete Tyler, an investigator for a Medicare contractor. It was a simple complaint from a patient. I was charged for a surgery I never had, the patient said. Tyler started digging. He looked at Michaels' billing records. What he found was impossible. Renee, look at this, Tyler said to Agent Renee Reyes of Health and Human Services. Dr. Michaels is billing for 3 surgeries on the same patient in 1 month, on different days. Maybe they were complicated cases. Reyes suggested. No, Tyler replied. One patient has been billed for 350 surgeries. Unless this person has 50 feet, it's physically impossible. He's the highest paid podiatrist in the state of Illinois. Medicare has paid him $1.7 million in 7 years. The investigation was launched. They called it the Foot Doctor case. They didn't know it would turn into a murder trial. Chapter 7. Ghost Surgeries. The investigators began to interview Michaels' patients. They were mostly elderly, often sick, and many had dementia. They were the perfect victims because they were unreliable witnesses. Did Dr. Michaels perform surgery on you, Mrs. Gable? An agent asked. Oh, Dr. Ronnie, he's a lovely boy, the woman said. He clips my toenails. He brings me cookies. But did he cut into your foot? Did you have stitches? Stitches. No, just the nails. And yet, Medicare had been billed $10,000 for a complex surgical reconstruction on Mrs. Gable's left foot. Michaels was performing ghost surgeries. He would visit a patient, clip their nails for 10 minutes, and then go back to his office and bill for a 3-hour operation. He was a master of the paperwork. He knew the codes. He knew how to play the system. When Tyler suspended Michaels' payments, the doctor didn't back down. He was irate. He called Tyler, screaming about government overreach. He told his patients that the feds were out to get him because he was too good at his job. He even handed out scripts to his patients. If they ask about scars, tell them I use a new, tiny incision technique. Tell them you don't remember. Tell them I'm a good doctor. Because they loved him, many of them signed affidavits lying for him. They chose their friend over the truth. But one woman wouldn't lie. Chapter 8. The Caretaker's Choice. Joyce Brannon was 54 years old. She was a former ICU nurse, a woman who knew exactly what a surgery looked like. She was also the caretaker of the Bethany Evangelical Lutheran Church. She lived in a small apartment in the church basement. She was honest to a fault. She was the kind of person who would return a nickel if she found it on the sidewalk. When the investigators visited her in September 2001, Joyce didn't hesitate. "Honey, I know what a foot surgery is," Joyce told Agent Reyes. "I've seen them in the ICU. Dr. Michaels has never done a surgery on me. He clips my nails. That's it." The agents looked at her file. Michaels had billed for over 70 surgeries on Joyce Brannon. "Will you testify to that?" Reyes asked. "If it's the truth, I have to," Joyce said. "It's wrong what he's doing. It's stealing." Joyce became the star witness. She was mentally sharp. She had medical training, and she had no reason to lie. She was the one person who could bring Dr. Michaels' $1.7 million house of cards down. Michaels knew it. He called her. He pleaded with her. "Joyce, I have a family. Think about my children. Don't do this to me." Joyce's response was legendary. "You should have thought about that before you did this. Ronald, this is wrong." She was scheduled to testify before the grand jury on a Tuesday. On the Monday before, Joyce Brannon was found dead in her church basement. Chapter 9, Silence in the Church Basement. The scene was chilling. Joyce Brannon was found in a sitting position, facing her window. She had been shot in the back of the head and the back 6 times with a .22 caliber pistol. One shot was point blank. There was no sign of a struggle, no robbery. The killer knew where she lived, a place that required multiple turns through the labyrinthine basement of the church. Assistant U.S. Attorney Sean Berkowitz got the call and felt a cold pit in his stomach. "It's Michaels," he whispered. "It has to be." But there was no murder weapon, no eyewitnesses, just a doctor with a motive and a dead nurse. The investigation into Michaels shifted from white-collar fraud to cold-blooded murder. The team began to look into Michaels' life. What they found was a man in total collapse. Without his Medicare checks, Michaels was broke. He had lost his house. He was living in his car. He was drinking heavily. He wrote letters to himself, calling himself worthless to society. He was a cornered animal, Berkowitz said, and cornered animals bite. The feds tapped Michaels' phone. They heard a chilling call between Michaels and an 80-year-old patient named Charles Labosco. Labosco was Michaels' best patient, the one billed for 351 surgeries. The wiretap caught them talking about the investigators, their voices hushed and frantic. Then they found the gun. Chapter 10, The Trail of Shell Casings. The feds searched a storage locker Michaels had rented. Inside, they found a cache of firearms, but not the .22 used in the murder. However, they found a receipt from the Skokie Police Department. It turned out that 3 weeks before the murder, Michaels' girlfriend had called the police during an argument. She told them Michaels was storing guns in her unit and she didn't feel safe. The police confiscated them, including a .22 caliber revolver. But Michaels had renewed his license and picked up the guns on January 24th. 3 days later, Joyce Brannon was dead. They searched Michaels' car. Under the seat, they found a shell casing, a .22 caliber. They found a box of ammunition that matched the bullets in Joyce's body. And most damning of all, they found a handwritten note. The note contained the address of the Bethany Evangelical Lutheran Church. It contained the hours of the Sunday services. It was a map for a murder. Epilogue: The High Cost of Faith. Dr. Ronald Michaels was convicted of health care fraud and the murder of Joyce Brannon in May 2005. For the fraud, he got 6 years. For the murder, he was